The Mega Evolution mechanic was certainly the best and most beloved battling gimmick Pokemon has ever introduced. And thank Arceus, it's making its triumphant return in Pokemon Legends Z to A. So I think now is the perfect time to rank every single Mega. But a quick reminder, this ranking will not solely be based on competitive battling prowess, but also design, usage, and much more. And remember, ultimately, this is all based on my opinion, so be sure to comment your rankings in the comment section below. We've got an astonishing 48 Megas to get through, so let's get right into it. In dead last and taking the title of worst Mega ever is Audino. Terrible. Just terrible. It had me absolutely flabbergasted when I found out that Audino was going to be the only Unova Pokemon to receive a Mega. There were dozens of other Unova Mons that could have used the Mega treatment, but instead they gave it to knockoff Chansey. And not only is this thing bad, but it's also forgettable. They snuck it in at the very end of the ORAS games, and most players had zero reason to ever use it. And one would argue that it actually gets worse upon Mega Evolving, as it swaps out a great ability in Regenerator for a pretty niche healer ability. Mix in all of that with really no relevant appearances ever, and that's how you earn the crown of worst Mega Pokemon ever. Now we've got Abomasnow, who, unlike Audino, was at least somewhat usable. Well, its design is just straight up terrible. You could still at least maybe use this Mega and possibly see a sliver of success, given the right circumstances. His stats go from straight up terrible to almost mid upon Mega Evolving. The problem with it is it's not sure what it wants to be, whether it be a physical attacker, a special attacker, or a tank, and somehow it doesn't pull off any of this very well. To be fair, Mega Abomasnow has kind of been up against the odds since its introduction back in X and Y, as it came along with two of the best Sinnohmons ever. Luckily enough, Mega Abomasnow got a solid moment to shine thanks to Wulfric's epic Mega reveal against Ash and his Greninja in the anime. Unfortunately for Mega Camerupt, he suffers from a lot of the same faults as Mega Abomasnow. That, of course, being mediocre stats, mixed in with a pretty bad typing. I mean, when you are 4 times weak to the most abundant typing in the series, you're kinda working up against the odds from the very start. I actually do like Mega Camerupt's design, as it gives a much more epic and intimidating look. However, by the time the ORAS games rolled around, power creep was certainly in full effect. And by simply boosting its base stat total to 560, while also sacrificing speed, was just not enough. If you played through Omega Ruby, you were certainly in for a much easier time than the Alpha Sapphire players, with respect to taking on the evil team's boss. Really, any water move will do the trick on Maxie's ace, and render him absolutely useless. Now, let me begin this entry by saying this. I adore Mega Sableye's design. I think the massive Ruby and Ruby Eyes are awesome, and I mean, it couldn't come in a more fitting game. And I also love the personality we see in this new form, seeing how Sableye is a bit of a prankster. But the reason why I have Mega Sableye so low on this list is there's really no reason to ever use him in a battle. Even upon Mega Evolving, its stats are incredibly underwhelming. It seems as if it wants to be a tank, but when your HP is only a measly 50 base stat, you're not going to see a ton of success. While I give Mega Sableye's design an easy 10 out of 10, it's just not good enough in battle to rank any higher. Okay, from now on for the rest of the rankings in this video, every other Mega Pokemon will be considered at least good in battle. I believe any of the following 44 Pokemon can totally turn the tide of a battle in most circumstances, which in all honesty is what a good Mega should do. Alright, well, let's now move on with Glalie. Mega Glalie is actually a very fun Pokemon to use in battle. With its powerful Refrigerate ability, along with a very impressive 120 attack stat, he could actually do some really good work in battle. Moves like Return or Body Slam gain the Ice typing, along with some Stab and a nice little refrigerated boost. The only real downfall of Mega Glalie is how it lacks any real versatility when it comes to attacks. That, along with being a mono Ice type, which is just inherently bad, holds it back from being any higher on this list. And Mega Glalie kind of has a boring design. I hate Pokemon that just get spikier when they evolve. Now we've got Absol. I was ecstatic to learn that Absol would be getting a Mega Evolution in the X and Y games, because it was always such an epic Pokemon, but it was certainly in need of an upgrade. And overall, I found Mega Absol to be a very welcome addition. From an aesthetic standpoint, I'd argue that no Mega Pokemon has a more majestic design than Mega Absol. Then, when it comes to battling, there's actually a ton of versatility you can have with this Mega. I also must note that Absol's Mega form is pretty memorable, seeing how our main rival in the X and Y games used one in our final battle against them in Kalode City. Now, Mega Heracross is a bit frustrating. Mega Heracross has all the pieces to be an amazing Pokemon. He's got the Moxie, he's got the skill, and he's got the attack. But the only thing that really holds Mega Heracross back is that abysmal speed stat. I mean, this thing actually loses speed upon Mega Evolving, which is almost always a bad thing. It's because of this that base form Heracross with a Choice Scarf is actually a bit more viable than its own Mega form. But from a design point, I actually find Mega Heracross to be great. The colors on it are remarkable, and I adore its Rhinoceros Beetle design, even if the other Mon franchise might have pulled it off a bit better. But nonetheless, it's really just its speed stat that holds this Beetle back. Oh boy, Blastoise. Of the 6 Mega Evolving starters, you are far and away the worst. And also, you're the only Mega starter to keep the mono-typing. But, I mean, you aren't all that bad. You're just a bit underwhelming is all. Mega Blastoise actually has a crazy diverse move pool, and thanks to its Mega Launcher ability, it boosts the power of moves like Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, Dragon Pulse, and Water Pulse. And meanwhile, its stats are alright, with Mega Blastoise being relatively bulky, but, there's just so many other better options for a Water-type Mega. And finally, Mega Blastoise's design really isn't all that great, especially because it gets that weird Super Saiyan 3 eyebrow treatment. Speaking of Super Saiyan 3, we've now got Pidgeot, another absolutely majestic looking Mega with an outright beautiful design. Now, I'll be honest, I was not expecting Pidgeot to get a Mega form back in ORAS, and even looking back now, it's still a bit weird, but it works. During the time, Pidgeot was getting greatly outclassed by other regional birds like Staraptor and Talonflame, but this new Mega form certainly helped change that. So Mega Pidgeot actually gains a huge boost to its special attack, and thanks to the No Guard ability and Hurricane, it makes for the perfect combination. Once you mix in its blazing fast speed of 121, and all of a sudden, Mega Pidgeot is a legitimate sweeper. The only real problem it has is that it doesn't really have any other good attacks beyond just Hurricane. Still, Mega Pidgeot rocks and has a stunning design. Now, we've got an absolute physical wall with Mega Steelix. Right off the bat, I can't help but mention Mega Steelix's absolutely colossal 230 defense stat. Plus, Steelix is a ground and steel type, which are among the best in all of Pokemon. The only real problem I have with Mega Steelix is 1, the lackluster design, and 2, it's kinda just forgettable. I mean, let's be honest. When has anyone ever raved about the power of Mega Steelix? I mean, yeah, its defense is super solid, but what else can it do? From one wall to the next, we now have Mega Slowbro. Now, let me make this clear. Mega Slowbro greatly outclasses Steelix with respect to its tankiness. While it certainly doesn't have any eye-popping stats like Mega Steelix, it has a lot more to its kit that helps it out as a tank. First of all, it has access to moves like Scald and Recover, which can greatly cripple any physical attacker. It also has much more prowess when it comes to firepower, thanks to a really solid move pool. There is really only one bad part about Slowbro, and it's, well, really bad. Of course, I'm talking about that design. Yeah, it is really, really ugly. And honestly, it's probably the second worst designed Mega ever, only behind Mega Audino. I'm definitely not against the Shelter Tail taking over the body, but I can't help but feel as if this gimmick could have been pulled off a lot better. Mega Aerodactyl is a bit of a polarizing pick for me. While I absolutely love normal Aerodactyl's design, its Mega form is the epitome of that terrible added spikes cliche. It really does look like this Mega design was made in a grand total of 5 minutes. but it is honestly a pretty underrated Mega, with great stats in both attack and in speed. Now we've got probably the most impressive Mega Evolving tank of all time. Mega Aggron can sponge hits for days. The only problem with it is that it lacks any real sustainability by not being able to heal itself. We've got Mega Aggron, who is actually tied with Mega Steelix, with having the highest base defense in all of Pokemon history. But what makes Mega Aggron a better wall than the Boulder Snake lies within their abilities. Mega Aggron's Filter ability halves the damage taken from super effective attacks, which essentially means Mega Aggron has no weaknesses. And a fun fact about Mega Aggron is that it's the only Pokemon to lose a typing upon Mega Evolving. And this actually greatly benefits it, seeing how it is able to get rid of many weaknesses, including 2 4x weaknesses. This leaves Aggron with the strictly Steel typing, which is arguably the best typing in the entire game. And beyond just tankiness, the design of Mega Aggron is just alright. I'd say it's a bit too over-designed, especially when it's compared to its base form, but still, it's a great tank all the same, and would be a big help on essentially any team. Mega Altaria was a bit of a random pick to receive a Mega, but when you realize Altaria is actually the 4th best dragon in Hoenn, a Mega Evolution was actually quite a good call on Pokemon's part. While Mega Altaria's stats certainly don't jump off the page at you, it's got a decent amount of versatility when it comes to battle. It can either be run as a physical or special attacker, with a bit of bulk to its name. And of course, I must mention that Mega Altaria is the only Dragon and Fairy typing in Pokemon history. These are 2 totally different typings that when combined are actually amazing. I also found Mega Altaria's role as essentially the face of Pokemon contests in ORAS, along with Lycia, to be pretty fitting. It's a beautifully majestic Mon who was a perfect fit for an aesthetic-focused medium like Pokemon contests. Now we've got another Mega that gave a much-needed power-up to a very deserving Mon. Sharpedo was always pretty cool, but by the time Gen 6 rolled around, it was very much outclassed by most other water types. But now, with a Mega form, it was a much more fitting ace of an evil team leader. The optimal way to use a Sharpedo is keeping it in its base form for a bit to gain a few speed boosts, then it's time to go Mega and start chomping everything. Its new Strong Jaw ability gives decent boosts to moves like Crunch, Ice Fang, and even Psychic Fangs. And with its impressive base 140 attack stat, it can easily sweep through teams. But of course, its design is another culprit of those dreaded spikes. We're going from one shark to the next here with Mega Garchomp. Now, unfortunately, Mega Garchomp is kind of a hated Mega, and that is pretty much for one single reason. And that being that it loses some speed upon Mega Evolving. That means that base Garchomp, holding something like a Life Orb, can actually be just as good, if not better than Mega Chomp. But let's try and find some good in the Mega form of this powerful pseudo. First off, let's talk about the design. It is absolutely terrifying. Now yeah, I know there's a ton of spikes on it, but it actually works a bit better here because they're just a bit more over-exaggerated and enhancements from the base form. It also bears massive scythes for arms, which is incredibly scary and also so epic. And while it might just be good in battle, it's still certainly worth using every now and then. And finally, can we discuss how epic Cynthia's Mega Garchomp was in the anime? She was able to pull this out and whoop on Iris's Haxorus. Next, let's look at one of the most terrifying Megas in the whole bunch. Mega Bayonet is as scary as they come, and I just love how it leans into its horrifying lore. Upon going Mega, its attack stat skyrockets to an impressive base 165, and this ghost is prepped to do some major damage. With moves like Shadow Claw, Gunk Shot, and Knockoff at its disposal, it can certainly cripple opponents' teams. And it's able to make up for its underwhelming speed stat with access to a priority stab-boosted Shadow Sneak. And then, it even has Destiny Bond to take its foe down with it. And thanks to its new Prankster ability, this move is almost always going first during the turn. If there was ever a Pokemon in need of a Mega Boost, it was Ampharos. It's undoubtedly one of the most beloved Johto Mons, and honestly, it's got a pretty well-liked Mega. It was certainly a bold choice to give it the Dragon typing, along with some long and luscious locks, but it works. It really does. The only real problem I have with Mega Ampharos is its ability. Mold Breaker was kind of an odd pick, and it doesn't really benefit this mon very much at all. I can't even really think of many scenarios when it actually helps Mega Ampharos. Boasting arguably my favorite design in all of Mega Evolving Pokemon, Gallade goes from scrawny to brawny hero upon going Mega. Originally, Gallade did get the short end of the stick, seeing how his sister got a Mega form and role of Champion's Ace back in Kalos, but once Oras came out, the wrongs were righted in this sibling rivalry. I also love the creative direction the Pokemon Company went in by making this mon Wally's much needed hero in the Oras games. I am a little indifferent in battle when it comes to Mega Gal's power. Sure, a base 165 attack stat is great for any fighting type, but being a physical psychic type isn't really all that good. And finally, the inner focus ability is a major miss on this Pokemon. It was an outright waste, and it should have either stuck with Justified or got something like Huge Power. Now here at 29th, we've got another epic Mega in Mega Houndoom. On the battlefield, it has some impressive speed and firepower, even more so when Brutal Sunlight is in play. It was also pretty cool to see Mega Houndoom get some time in the spotlight during the X and Y Mega Evolution anime specials. Malva's had a pretty epic showdown with Alon's Charizard, and I really wish she could have used one in the mainline games. The design is pretty sick too. It of course does do that spike ear gimmick, but much like Mega Garchomp, these seem to be natural upgrades from its base form. I really would have liked to see the designers of Mega Houndoom lean even more into its Cerberus inspiration by having it possibly grow 2 more heads. Nonetheless, this is one intimidating hellhound, and I definitely would not want to see one late at night. Mega Gyarados is kind of funny, because I don't know if its design is as intimidating as the creators intended it to be. I actually find it to be a bit comical, as it goes from a huge, dragon-esque fish to a measly shrimp boy. I also found it to be a bit peculiar that they switched out the flying typing for the dark typing. Well, yes, making it a water and dragon type would have been great. I also kind of understand the dark type addition, seeing how Gyarados are often destructive by nature, and Mega Evolving can be painful and bring out the aggressive nature in Pokemon. Of course, we all had the opportunity to square off with a Mega Gyarados back when we faced off against Lysander during the climax of the Team Flare storyline in X and Y. And of course, it became even cooler when we got to see Lysander's shiny Mega Gyarados in the anime, who essentially soloed Ash's team. We've got another absolute monster of a Mega here with Mega Manectric. Now, at a first glance, it may come off as a goofy design, but don't let its looks fool you. This lightning doggo is an excellent utility mon that will help any team in battle. It boasts some blazing fast speed, an equally impressive special attack stat, so that means it's almost always gonna hit hard, and it's almost always gonna hit first. And with its Intimidate ability and access to Volt Switch, this Mega Mon can come and go while crippling physical attackers. Now we've got the first Mega with huge power. Well, Mega Metacham's base stat total is actually quite underwhelming. It does have one of the most broken abilities of all time in huge power. It basically makes Mega Metachan's base attack stat an astonishing 200, which is actually the highest in all of Pokemon. Still, the rest of its stats are pretty lackluster. But luckily, it has access to some great attacks and some priority moves that really help it out. I only really wish Mega Metachan had a bit more time to shine across Pokemon media. It's bordering on the verge of forgettable, and that's thanks in large part to not having any relevant moments in the games or anime. In 25th is the first ever legendary Mega Pokemon in Mega Mewtwo X. So my big fault with Mega Mewtwo X is its design. I find Mega Mewtwo X's design to be straight up gross. The veins all over its body are disgusting, and then its head shape and feet are really weird looking. This is now the 3rd Mega Psychic and Fighting type we've ranked, and by now you should know that isn't the greatest typing for physical attackers, but when we look at its stats, it's actually tied for the highest of all time with a whopping base stat total of 780. It's absolutely crazy strong. I mean, yeah, in battle, this thing is literally as good as it gets. It's just the design that prevents it from going any higher on this list. Well, that, and I kinda find Mewtwo X to be a bit unnecessary. Like, it's already got another form that is worlds better in both battle and in design. It's no wonder why this form didn't get to be in the Genesect movie. Now we've got a much better Gen 1 Psychic-type Mega in Alakazam. I absolutely love Mega Alakazam's design, as it really leans into that Asian wise monk gimmick. And of course, more spoons are always good. Now, a fun fact about Mega Alakazam is that in the Gen 6 games, it was the only Mega Pokemon to gain only 90 points to its base stat total upon Mega Evolving, while every other Mega gets an even 100 BST boost. And that was a result of a weird semi-glitch in the game's programming. But Mega Alakazam is a beast in battle. Its psychic powers go absolutely nuclear with a 170 special attack stat. So as long as you're able to stay away from any dark types, Mega Alakazam is gonna sweep through opposing teams with ease. Next is the Mega form of my all-time favorite Pokemon. Mega Sceptile was a very welcome power-up to Sceptile, who was kind of falling victim to power creep by the time Gen 6 came around. I think Mega Sceptile's design is actually really epic, and the fact that it always has its back turned to the opponent is a true showing of that smug swagger it possesses. And of course, the Christmas tree tail is certainly bold, especially when I learned it launches it in battle. I also found it to be awesome and very fitting that Mega Sceptile gains the Dragon typing upon going Mega. It was always in the Dragon Egg group, and it was the only Mono-type Hoenn starter, but now it's right up there with its other sibling starters. Unfortunately though, Mega Sceptile was kind of a bit underpowered with its Mega form. I really wish it could have gotten a huge boost to its attack, so it could once again use its signature move to its maximum potential. I also found the Lightning Rod ability to be a bit strange, yet somewhat fitting. It of course gives it a straight up immunity to electric types. Well, I guess that is unless you're fighting Mega Ampharos, who I was ragging on earlier. In 22nd is far and away the most horrifyingly designed mon in the entire franchise. I'm talking about Mega Pinsir. Just imagine if you were in the Pokemon world and actually saw one of these out in the wild. I would literally never leave my house if this was real. But this Mega form actually made Pinsir incredibly viable once again in battle. It now has a very formidable 105 speed stat, and of course it gains not only the flying type, but also the aerialate ability. That makes moves like Return, or even Quick Attack, a boosted stab flying type attack. I really don't think Mega Pinsir gets enough credit or praise for how powerful it can really be. Hey, I just wanted to make a quick note here before we move on, and add that May from the Advanced series was my anime crush when I was a kid. Okay? Since its creation way back in 1996, Venusaur has always been a really solid and reliable tank. Even though it was a grass type, which normally is not all that great. It was still able to hang around in battles thanks to its move pool and stats. But then in X and Y, it went from an okay tank to an absolute sponge super tank. Mega Venusaur got big and bulky. Oh, and thanks to its new Thick Fat ability, it became even better. Its fire weakness, gone. Its ice weakness, gone. This grass dinosaur was officially scared of nothing. I know I absolutely hated going up against one of these in battle because it was so hard to bring down. Nothing ever wanted to see this beast in battle, and it really brought the franchise's first grass type back into the limelight. We've got another Kanto starter here with Mega Charizard Y. Now, unless you're brand new to the Pokemon franchise, then I'm sure you know plenty about Charizard. And I'm sure you know that the pseudo-dragon receives a ton of special treatment. It's really one of two Pokemon to ever receive multiple Megas. And unfortunately for Charizard Y, it's most certainly the lesser of the two. Its design is not really all that ambitious, as it is just a spikier Charizard, but in battle, it's incredibly good. And of course, the biggest thing this Mega has going for it is its Drought ability, which brings the sun anytime it hits the battlefield. Because of this, it should come as no surprise that it was all over the competitive scene back in the day in both Smogon and VGC, as it was the crux of many Sun teams. Now now we find ourselves discussing the mega form of my favorite pseudo-legendary, Mega Tyranitar. Let's begin this entry by discussing battling prowess. Anytime you add an extra 100-point mega boost to a pseudo, it's gonna go from powerful to broken. Mega T-Tar's stats are obviously off the charts good, and that's not even to mention the added special defense boost it gains naturally from its Sandstream ability. And then of course, with a move like Dragon Dance, all of a sudden its stats are absolutely juiced, and like that, it's time to sweep. A very underrated aspect of Mega Tyranitar is found within its design. Its stomach area actually pays homage to its previous forms. If you take a closer look at its chest piece, it actually resembles a Pupitar's face, and meanwhile its lower belly has that dark orange coloring, similar to a Larvitar's belly. Subtleties like this are what make a Pokemon design great, and Mega T-Tar is certainly worthy of praise. So I've decided to lump the mega forms of the Eon duo together because, well, they're more or less the same. So when we look at both Mega Latios and Mega Latias, they're essentially the same Pokemon with only a few differences in offensive and defensive stat distribution. I mean, I don't know if I love the fact that they are identical looking Megas, but I guess when you mix red and blue it makes purple, so that's something, I guess. Of course, these legendary Megas had a very important role in the ORAS games. The soaring feature was a very underrated highlight of the Hoenn remakes, and I found myself spending hours upon hours flying through the sky. I mean, yeah, it was kind of weird that Steven just handed it to us halfway through the games, but it sort of makes sense, I guess. Still, they're a very impressive Mega duo, and you can't go wrong with choosing either of them. Now, we've got the only mythical Pokemon to ever receive a Mega form. Mega Diancie gives Diancie a much-needed boost in battle and in its design. On its own, base Diancie is downright underwhelming and outright forgettable. It goes from a slow wall to a speedy sweeper upon Mega Evolving, while also gaining an absolutely beautiful new look. It also gets much more usage out of its signature move, Diamond Storm, which will also more than likely aid in some of its lost bulk. And while I find the Diancie movie back in XY to be pretty boring, I did really like to see the unveiling of its Mega form right then and there before it was even released in the ORAS games. I'm also going to make a big prediction and say that Mega Diancie will play a big role in Pokemon Legends Z to A when it comes out. So if you're from the future watching this, let me know if I was right. As we enter the top 15, we find ourselves with an absolute monster here with Mega Salamence. On its own, Salamence was always great and a real intimidating threat to most opponents, but now, its Mega form is even more menacing. Like Pinsir, Mega Mence gains the Aerial Aid ability upon evolving, and all you really gotta do is set up one D-Dance, and then use some normal moves to return Salamence to its former glory atop the pseudo-legendary food chain. When we talk about its design, it's somewhat polarizing. Many love the old croissant design, and many find it to be pretty goofy. I don't mind it too much, but I definitely think Roaring Moon pulls off the half-crescent moon look a bit better. When we talk about gains, no one is bigger than Mega Swampert. This Mega is body goals, even though it kinda seems like he skips leg day. So as it was, base Swampert was pretty much the greatest starter of all time. As long as you stayed away from leaves, you could do some serious damage. Then, once you Mega Evolve, that power on Swampert goes from an 8 all the way up to a 10. His attack stat is an ever-imposing 150, and he even gains some decent bulk. But the one glaring issue is that speed stat. But if you can make it rain, you're in for a good time. The Swift Swim ability turns this thing into an even bigger beast. Next, we've got another Mega with only one weakness, Mega Scizor. It boasts an incredibly cool and sleek design, and somehow, Pokemon was able to make it better than its base form. If base Scizor was the Pokemon equivalent of normal Iron Man, then Mega Scizor is Infinity Gauntlet wielding Nanotech World Buster Iron Man. With a lot of these Megas, you can kind of go overboard with it when it comes to movesets, EV spreads, and strategies. However, with Mega Scizor, it's simple. Swords Dance and Bullet Punch. Those two moves are really all you need. Bullet Punch is literally a perfect move, as it comes with priority included at no extra charge. And thanks to Mega Scizor's Technician ability, it's getting major boosts. Now there may be no Mega more infamous than Mega Kangaskhan. This Pokemon ran rampant in the X and Y competitive scene, and it was essentially a free win button for most battles. When you take a look at Mega Kangaskhan's stats, nothing really jumps off the page at you. But it's not its stats that make this Pokemon so stellar, it's its signature ability that does that. The Parental Bond ability makes Mega Kanga's baby part of the fight, and now any move that Kangaskhan uses in battle gets a second hit from the kiddo that does half the damage. And it also meant that secondary effects of moves would also occur twice. That's why Power Up Punch was often used on this Pokemon, as it would essentially work as a Swords Dance that also does damage. Just outside of the top 10, we find ourselves with Gardevoir. I actually find Mega Gardevoir to be the second most iconic fairy type, only behind Sylveon. The elegant design and bridely attire really fits well in the Kalos region. Meanwhile, in battle, it has a massive 165 base special attack, which means no Pokemon is going to enjoy taking a Moonblast, Psyshock, or even a Pixelate-boosted Hyper Voice. Of course, in the games, Gardevoir received a leading role in X and Y as she was the ace of Diantha and essentially the strongest Pokemon in all of Kalos. We even got to see more of Mega Gardevoir in the X and Y anime, and even in Pokemon Journeys during the Masters 8 arc. It was actually incredibly impressive during this tournament, and carried Diantha to the semifinals and a top 4 finish overall. From one champion's ace to the next, we find ourselves entering the top 10 with Mega Metagross. Now, I've said it a couple times already, but anytime you give a pseudo-legendary a Mega, it's gonna be overpowered. And Metagross is really the best of the best when it comes to this, for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, the need for a Steel type skyrocketed in Gen 6 with the introduction of the Fairy type, and Mega Metagross is a certified Fairy killer. Then also what makes Mega Meta so good is that upon Mega evolving, it gains a much needed speed boost. Now, its stats are off the board strong, and thanks to Tough Claws, it only gets stronger. Mega Metagross also boasts an incredible design. Its 4 metal arms are now pointed at its opponent, and it's ready to wreak some havoc. We got the chance to square off with one of these in Oras, and it worked pretty much as the final boss of the game, seeing how it was Steven's reliable ace. And it was even cooler to see Steven have a shiny Mega Metagross in the anime, who was able to take on the likes of other Megas, and even the Weather Trio in their primal forms. Next, we find ourselves with a fan favorite, Mega Lopunny. On its own, Lopunny was certainly impressive, especially on the internet, but it was actually very bad in battle. But then, when the Pokegods blessed it with the Mega, it turned into an absolute threat in battle. She went from a weak little bunny to a scrappy fighting-type monster. It was now able to do some real work in battle, and did some major damage with moves like Fake Out, Return, and High Jump Kick. All moves which were complemented by its great new typing, stats, and design. Now, of every Pokemon on this list, I can confidently say that Mega Mawile has the greatest typing of them all. Steel and Fairy is an absolute busted combination, both offensively and defensively. It has 2 outright immunities, and everything that isn't fire or ground is more than likely resisted by Mega Maw. But the best part about this Pokemon is its ability. Huge power! That means its base 105 attack stat is boosted up to an insane 210. And with access to moves like Power Up Punch and Swords Dance, it can get even more godly. With respect to its design, I like the little pink dress it gains. And everyone knows that 2 heads are better than 1. During the competitive days of Generation 6, I had a very fun time using Mega Mawile, and I found myself almost always using it as a late game sweeper. The Blazing Chicken is actually insane. Mega Blaziken is actually so insane that it was the only one of the Hoenn starters to receive his Mega form in X and Y. A special Torchic was actually distributed via mystery gift to early buyers of the XY games. This Torchic of course came equipped with the Blazikenite, allowing it to go Mega once it reached its final form. And to be honest, with Mega Blaziken alone, you probably could have soloed the entire region with just it. I mean, nothing in Kalos really stood a chance against its OP stats, typing, and moveset. And most important of all, its speed boost ability. I am a little indifferent about the design though. I don't know if it's really that much better or cooler than base Blaziken. It may just fall slightly into the threshold of over-designed Mega, but it's still not all that bad. Now, if you were anywhere around the online Pokemon community during the days of the X and Y hype season, then you know all about this Pokemon. When images of it got leaked to us, they basically broke the internet. Many were wondering what exactly this was, because Mega Evolution was not yet announced to us, so many were even speculating that this could be Mew 3. And honestly, this Mega being one of the first ever to leak was absolutely perfect. The design is amazing and much more natural looking than its X counterpart, and also it is so much better in battle. It has far and away the highest special attack stat of all time, and overall, this Mega is just perfect. I mean, it's really no wonder as to why this Mega form of Mewtwo is used much more across Pokemon media. Now, for 6.5 generations, Beedrill was absolute and utter garbage. It wasn't usable in games, and it certainly wasn't usable in competitive. That was up until Mega Beedrill got introduced in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It went from puny bug to lethal team sweeper. While its defensive stats are still non-existent, who needs that when you can hit first and hit incredibly hard? And even better is that Mega Beedrill now has the special ability Adaptability, which gives an even higher attack boost to any poison and bug type moves. As for design, Mega Beedrill does exactly what you would hope. The sleeker but more menacing design greatly illustrates the boosted speed and attack from this Mega Bee. Mega Lucario was likely the first Mega you ever used. One was gifted to us by Karina in X and Y to help show us how to use the Mega Evolution mechanic. And once this Lucario was gifted to you, you could honestly solo all of Kalos with it. Lucario is already amazing in its base form, and what's crazy is, it gets exponentially more powerful upon going Mega. Its stats are quite impressive. Meanwhile, much like Mega Beedrill, this Mega has the Adaptability ability, which only makes stab moves hit that much harder. Finally, it was incredibly fitting to see Ash use a Mega Lucario as his one and only Mega in the anime. This thing was a beast in battle, and it was even able to take down Cynthia's Garchomp. Earning the bronze today is Mega Gengar. Fast, overpowered, and terrifying. The Mega form of the most iconic ghost Pokemon ever certainly delivered in every way possible. Giving Mega Gengar the Shadow Tag ability was an insane decision by developers. I also gotta give Mega Gengar a huge shout out for fixing the base form's terrible shiny. In base it's barely even noticeable, but now the all-white Mega looks absolutely stunning. Far and away, the most overpowered Pokemon of all time soars into the number 2 spot with Mega Rayquaza. After seeing the primal forms of both Groudon and Kyogre, I was worried that Pokemon didn't give the leader of the Weather Trio a proper power boost. And maybe they went a bit overboard. Rayquaza is the only known Mega Pokemon to not actually need a Mega Stone to Mega Evolve. It just needs to know the move Dragon Ascent, an incredibly strong move on its own. Just look at these stats. They are off the charts, and actually Mega Rayquaza has the highest base stat total in all of Pokemon. It's no wonder why against him, anything goes. And one of my favorite parts of the ORAS games was the Delta episode, which gave us the opportunity to learn more about both Mega Evolution and Rayquaza. And then one of my favorite moments in all of Pokemon was when we rode Mega Rayquaza into space to take on Deoxys. It was epic and honestly pretty unexpected. But coming in first is undoubtedly the most iconic Mega Evolution of one of the most iconic Pokemon ever, Mega Charizard X. The Pokemon Company finally gave all of us Charizard fans just what we had been looking for, adding that Dragon type. This really helped Charizard out a ton, seeing how it was able to gain a lot more resistances, and now the Water typing wasn't super effective against it. Now, something funny about Mega Charizard X is that it was the sole reason I picked Pokemon X over Pokemon Y back in Gen 6. When it comes to battling, Mega Charizard X is really second to none. Unlike its counterpart, Megazard X is actually a physical attacker, and with Dragon Dance and the Tough Claws ability, moves like Thunder Punch, Flare Blitz, and Dragon Claw are all able to do some serious damage. Then when we look at its design, it's really just so boldly epic. It loses the orange tint for a dark black, and the blue fire that surrounds its mouth is absolutely flames. I can also confidently say that no other Mega Pokemon has had as much popularity over the years as Mega Charizard X, and that's thanks in large part to the major anime roles it's had. First off, it was the main Day 1 ace of Red in the Pokemon Origins spin-off, and while we didn't really see its Mega form till literally the last battle, it was epic. But I must admit, that Charizard pales in comparison to Alon's Mega Charizard X. During the Gen 6 anime, Alon's Mega Charizard was portrayed as literally the strongest Mega in the whole anime. It was even able to carry Alon to a Kalos League championship by sweeping through opponents and even beating the legendary Ash-Greninja. All in all, Mega Charizard X is certainly the most iconic Mega, and definitely my favorite. Well guys, that's going to do it for today's video. This was a huge video and probably my biggest of all time. But remember guys, this whole ranking was just my opinion. Be sure to let me know what you think of the rankings in the comments below, and be sure to drop a like on this video. Thanks guys!